G'day team. So this past weekend we decided to go away for the weekend. Decided to head over to Raglan. So after getting into town we pulled into the campsite. So we stayed at Raglan Holiday Park. It's got one of their little cabins there, and although it was nice and small, it was plenty big enough for what we needed, and yeah, nice and tidy. Campground facilities were quite good. After settling in for the evening, we decided to walk into town and over this cool illuminated bridge, footbridge over the harbour. And we went into town, went for a restaurant, go out for dinner. So the restaurant we chose was called The Wharf Restaurant and Bar. And yeah, no, it was a bit quiet in there, but when we got in there late, we ended up ordering way too much food. The seafood platter, ribs, chowder, curly fries. But yeah, took an effort, but we pretty much got through it at the end. Minus a couple of bits of leftovers which we just couldn't quite make. So after dinner, we walked back home, back over the illuminated bridge, and got back to the campground. Once we got back to the campground, we swapped out our dinner clothes for a pair of waders, got some torches and spears, and had a look along the shoreline for some flounders. So managed a couple of, saw quite a few actually, but managed about 4 legal ones. So they came home. It was going to be food for the next couple of days. Next morning woke up, made a coffee, loaded up the boat, and then headed out into the harbour. Fortunately, the boat ramp was pretty much straight across the road from the campground entrance, so whipped straight out, launched the boat, and then headed out. Conditions were really good when we were there, but unfortunately we were going at low tide, so we weren't going anywhere near that bar. However, if it was that day with a high tide, I would have happily gone over the Raglan bar in the little boat, but we made a plan, stuck to it. So our plan was basically to set the flounder net and then muck around in the harbour trying for some gurnard, trevally, kahawai, basically anything that winter species that would come along, just until our net had a long enough soak time so we could retrieve it and see how we'll get on with the flounders. So I set the net in a quiet little muddy bay, which kind of looked good to me, right on the edge of the channel where the flounder would hopefully be coming up over the lip as the tide came in. Then we settled down, set the burley, put the anchor out, and then tried to catch some fish. The line fishing wasn't too exciting, so we did a bit of sightseeing around the harbour before settling in to another spot, catching a whole multitude of little kahawai and some huge yellow-eye mullet. And the yellow-eye mullet we actually ended up taking a few to smoke up. It was time to check the flounder net after about 3 hours of soak time. And unfortunately, it wasn't all that productive, with only one decent flounder coming into the net. But it's still quite a nice fish, nice yellow belly. And yeah, one's a win. So we headed back into the shore, and then just before dinner decided to go for a walk along the beach, just walking out from the campground and out to the mouth of the harbour. Yeah, beautiful conditions, again a magic day, perfect conditions for crossing over the bar if you are heading out or heading back in. Back at the campground after our wee walk, so to cook up one of those flounder. So I coated it liberally in flour, dill, paprika and salt and pepper. A big knob of butter in the pan, and he threw them in there, and even with the biggest pan he struggled to fit in there, or the biggest plate. And yeah, covered them over with a nice drizzle of lemon juice, because there's two things that go well with flounder, and that's dill and lemon juice. And yeah, just picked it off the bone. Beautiful. The last day of our trip dawned a bit wet, but we headed into town, decided to have a wee look around and check out some of the local arts and crafts. We went to the craft fair which was on this day, so all sorts of cool little knickknacks there. Then wandered around town, checking out some of the local surf shops, as well as a few other little arts and crafts stalls. Yeah, there's plenty of cool knickknacks in these shops, and yeah, really showcase some of the local area's artistic flair. We went to one of the bakeries, which specialised in sourdough. Got a few little treats there before heading out to the local Manu Bay surf break. It's an onshore wind, so the surfing was very quiet, but still a beautiful place just to have a look at the swell and the raw ocean. And had a bit of a scavenge around the rocks as well, hoping to come across some mussels or something, but there wasn't a hell of a lot to be eaten, except the odd maybe rock crab. But yeah, after that we packed up the boat and car and slowly meandered our way back to Rotorua, which finished up our weekend nicely. And yeah, looking forward to the next time we head back over to Raglan, maybe with some slightly slightly better tides so we can get over the bar, or better surf conditions so we can take the surfboards next time. But as for this trip, that was it. Back home in Rotorua.